not the smartest guys in the room. Let's see. Let's get Tom in here. Tom, let's see. Let's make Tom a moderator. Tom, how you doing, my friend? What's going on today? Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is not the smartest guys in the room. Tom's in the house today. I see Tom. Lovely to see Tom. I'm going over some topics here that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about views, reels, persistence. How do you know when to stop, when to keep going, when you have a why, you have a belief, you have a mission? Is there a moment where you're like, it's not worth it, it's too hard? Or is that when you should push? When you think it's too hard, is that when you're actually closer than you've ever been? I want to talk about that. How many times a day, like the science behind negative emotions, and how many times a day we think, well, this isn't going to work, this is bad, this person's out to get me, and how that affects your storytelling, your business, things like that. Okay, views, reels, television, collaborations, Tom Brady quitting Amazon influencer program, and people that wait on a project. That's what I got, Tom. So let's see if Tom's around. How's he doing today? Okay, I'm gonna do my pinging, and when we see Tom, let's get Tom in here. Hey, Lisa, how you doing today? Okay, we are going to ping a few people. Tom, jump in when you want to jump in here. Not the smartest guys in the room. Hey, Holly, what's going on? 724, Prof T in the house. I was saying we are going to talk about some subjects here. Views. How hard is it when you make something emotionally, something you believe in, and you get no views? You know, like sometimes I made something the other day on YouTube, and all of a sudden they said there was a rights, like a rights violation, like a copyright violation on it. I had no idea. There was nothing that I did, but I guess I was at the beach and maybe some music was playing in the background or something, and somehow it got picked up on. But I'm like, this is my video that I made myself. And then they gave it then it gets 0 views, and I'm like, oh man, this stinks. So should I be brokenhearted? Should I not make another video? Or Tom, I'm going down this rabbit hole of views, and how the reality is that happens. Like right now, we do this, we live stream it. We also do a clubhouse. Right now, there's me and you in the room. I did
Yeah,
a room
buddy.
the other day. I did a room the other day where it was just me. 'Tis life. I'm still here today. I'm not brokenhearted by it. I made videos about it because it's the reality, of putting yourself out there. Sometimes you fall down. Sometimes you fall in the mud. Sometimes you do a video, and I watched a YouTube video the other day. I'm thinking about going to California again, and a lady was doing a video, and she had like bread in her teeth or something. And then then in the video, she pointed, like when she edited, she pointed to the bread in her teeth, and she's like, bread in teeth. How did I not know this was there? So sometimes you fall down, you get kicked, but that is not a reason to quit. So what's going on with you, man? Let's go into that. Well, we'll invite some people, see what's going on in Clubhouse today, but welcome, Tom.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I mean, speaking of not the smartest guys in the room, I'm late this morning because I'm an idiot. And let me qualify that statement. So basically, I have this weird thing. And if I'm looking away, if you're on the live stream, if you're seeing this, if I'm looking away, it's just because I'm pinging people into the room as I'm talking on Clubhouse. But anyway, I have this weird thing that Becky and I laugh about, where for some reason, I don't know if I'm the only person that does this, but whatever time I look at my watch, right? If I look at my watch and my watch says it's 8:30, right? Until I look at my watch again in my brain, it's 8:30. So like I am perpetually like running late for things, and I have been my whole life, and it's not what people would have you believe is like I don't respect other people's time and like, that kind of stuff, and it's not true at all. I am very aware of the value of other people's time. I spend, I don't know how many times a day I say thank you to people for giving me their time whenever we have meetings. I always, do my best to make sure that people know how grateful I am for them spending time with me, working with me, helping me, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not that I'm not cognizant of the value of people's time. It's that for some reason, time stands still in my head until I look at my watch again. Like it's 8:30. If I looked at my watch at 8:30 and 10 minutes later in my brain, if you asked me what time it was, I'd be like, oh, it's like 8:32. Like I have no concept of time unless I'm looking at a clock, like unless I check the clock. So I don't know what the solution is. Like I don't know if I have to get in the habit of like looking at my watch like every minute of the day to really be like on top of what time it is, or um I don't know. Yeah, I don't like, do I need to be obsessive about time? But it's like that's why I was running late this morning, is because I'm an idiot, and like I I I thought I had more time than I had. Like it's that simple.
That's fair. So, what about how do you get up in the morning?
Alarm clock. But I also I'm a snoozer, which like
Mm,
anybody who's
yeah.
big on like sleep and quality of sleep and sleep hygiene and all of that will Becky's friend Dr. Shelby Harris, who's a sleep specialist, would absolutely lambast me for the amount that I hit snooze. It's not like a once in a while thing. It is guaranteed every morning I hit snooze at least once or twice. Um so yeah, so I'm a big snoozer, but alarm clocks. I always have alarms in the morning.
Okay, so I'm. It's funny because you go down this sleep thing, and I I I got up at 5 o'clock for a whole year, set goals at times, like to write a certain screenplay. When I was in pharmaceuticals, one time I had a boss that was I was knew I was leaving pharmaceuticals soon, and I had a boss one time. We were on our way to the airport. I was dropping him off, and he's like, "Well, Dominic, you're gonna have to figure out what you want to do." And like he's calling me to action, like thinking I'm gonna double down on pharmaceuticals or something. And from that day forward, I set my alarm for the next year for 5:01 and finished the screenplay I was working on because I considered it like a currency or something that I wanted to have done before I left that world. So 5:01, great, worked. But then sometimes I see these people that are so into like, you got to get up early, you got to get up early, you got to maximize your day. And then I see them at 3 o'clock and they're like taking a nap, or at 11 o'clock, they go to bed at 9. And I'm like, well, why? If let's say me, I stay up till 11:30, that I probably start going to bed at 11:15 or something like that by 12. I'm sleeping by midnight every night. I get up at 6:15, 6:20, set the snooze. I'm out 6:30, 6:40. I'm up. I'm up. That's my day. Why am I wrong for not getting up at 5 when I stayed up later? And somebody else is like, I'm better than you because I got up at 5. So I wonder about that, Tom. And then the alarm question, or could you set alarms throughout the day for different things? Would your phone be beeping all day long? Or is it, you wear do you still wear a physical watch?
Oh yeah, I wear a watch and I get alerts on it all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Like I get calendar alerts. But again, it's like unless I look at the time stands still.
Yeah,
It's
that's weird.
very weird. It's a weird quirk of mine, I think. I don't know, like I'm the only person I've ever it's hard like it I only recently figured out how to like verbalize it. So like I'm the only person that I know of that like verbalizes it this way, right? That like basically in my mind, you know, it doesn't time doesn't pass unless I check the clock and I kind of update whatever time it was I last saw. Like I have to continually like update it in order for me to like recognize the time is passing. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe,
I'm super weird. I fully own that. Like I'm a
I don't
weirdo.
think it's weird. Maybe you're just in flow. You guys know about this flow where there's a certain point of the day where you're most productive. You're in the zone. You're most productive. You're not looking at the clock. Could Tom have found flow and he's above a clock? You know, is I don't I don't
The
know.
amount of times a day that this happens to me, I would say absolutely not.
Okay,
But
so
thanks for the benefit of that doubt, but I but I don't think so at all.
okay, so we got Joyce and Heather around, and that looks like Janina. Janina, so we invite everybody up, but we're talking.
Oh, we lost you, Dom, because somebody's trying to call you. You're popular, so you're muted. You're muted, buddy. Can't hear you. Can't hear you at all. Don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, did
Don't
I
know who
go
you're talking
silent?
to. We lost you because somebody was trying to call you. You got popular and
Oh
it
man, yeah,
muted you.
it's
So I don't.
accountants.
None of us have any idea what you said. I'm sure it was
Okay,
incredibly.
okay.
I'm sure it was brilliant. I'm sure it was
Okay,
brilliant.
so anybody watching the live stream, I'm just going to clear my head. Tom says Tom was late today, and I started talking. I swear I was talking for the first 3 minutes of the room with my thing on mute. So shit happens, right? We are so that's really what we started talking about today. Times we screw up, times where we get no views, times where we think of quitting, times where all goes wrong, and then what do you do? Like, should I quit when I get zero views? Should I quit when like as an author? Should you quit one day when it's day one and somebody doesn't buy your book? Should you quit before? I talk to people every day that wrote a book and never released it. Like, should you quit before you even start? Like, so let's talk about that. What do we do? Tom, you want to lead us off, or should we go right to Joyce and Heather and Julie?
I do have one thing I want to say on the views. I just want to like reiterate this. And like you're talking about when you were talking about that YouTube video, you're talking about like a very specific situation where, for reasons unbeknownst to you, something triggered a copyright flag, and the video got pulled down on YouTube. And like that kind of like, because again, most of the time when that happens, it's an automated system that's doing it. You know, when it's a random thing and you can't figure out why they flagged it, right? It's like a random system that's doing it, and there's not really a lot you can do. You can appeal, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you know, shit happens sometimes, right? What are you going to do when it overall comes to like people getting discouraged by like a lack of views on a piece of content or a video? My response to that is, why did you make the piece of content? Like, why did you make the video, right? If you're posting a video and you're worried about the views, then are you making it for you? Because the views are a vanity metric for you, right? You're worried about the views because you don't feel good because not a lot of people saw what you put out there. So what you're saying is they're not looking at me and I want them to look at me, right? So like, why are you making the video? If you're making it for your audience, then every view, doesn't matter if it's 5 or 5 million, every view is valuable to you, right? You appreciate every view. So do you want to reach a lot of people with your message? Do you want to impact a lot of people? Absolutely. Then I get you want to have a lot of views. But I think really what you need to think about, or what people need to think about, I don't mean you, Dom, because I know you were talking about a very different situation. But you know what people need to think about is why they're making the content. If they're truly making the content for their audience, which is why they should be making the content, then the views really shouldn't matter too much. Like the number shouldn't matter too much. If it's 100 or 500, really shouldn't make any difference um, in terms of whether or not they continue doing the work that they're doing. So that's what I think when it comes to views.
Okay, let's go down this rabbit hole, and we are. Let's just be clear: we're not saying views are bad, or that maybe your message got out to more people because of that. Like you're like, hey, well, on this day it was I wrote the perfect book, the perfect message, and I just want the whole world to see it. Well, yeah, that's honorable, right? And where I would when I thought about this. In our friend Chris Worth's book, he tells this story about pound the stone, where all of a sudden, that's a famous book, but he tells the story of you pound on this stone, like if you're making a sculpture, you pound, you don't see it, you pound, you don't see it, you don't see the result. And then all of a sudden, on the 100th chop or pound of the stone, all of a sudden, bam, the thing starts to take shape. I was reading Ed Millett's book the other day, and he goes the same way with a pinata. Here you are with a little kid or something smashing at the pinata. Don't see it, don't see it, don't see it. But you really are making an impact. And so where I wanted to just offer um, positive vibes or whatever to anybody, think where you are compared to 5 years ago, or when you were sitting there thinking, oh, I'm gonna get on Clubhouse, I'm gonna create a profile, I'm gonna create a thumbnail picture, I'm gonna work on this book. So you've come a long way. So Joyce, Heather, let's start talking. Let's talk about these subjects. Joyce, you want to weigh in? What are you thinking today, and how are you doing, cannabis mom?
Good morning. Yeah, that's sort of the bane of my existence, that weird, what I call it, microdosing narcissism. I want my contact to engage with people so I can start changing the narrative. But then if I don't get enough views or I don't feel like it's made an impact, I don't know what to do. I don't know. Social media confuses me. I know I have to be on it. I'm getting more consistent. I'm actually trying to use it more as a marketing tool. So the irony of being a creator who hates social media, who I don't actually like to use it, is that I'm on it to help promote other people. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of messed up in this world, but I like listening to you to hear what you say because it does make me feel better because I know that I'm doing what I need to do, and that views and whatever the metrics are aren't necessarily like as important as somehow you kind of internalize it as being. So that's where I am. And I had a hard time finding you guys this morning. So I
Yeah,
don't know what
thank
was
you.
happening.
I thank you, and I wondered about that because same views. Let's talk like reality of it. What got me thinking about this too, and I made some TikToks about it and stuff. I had a clubhouse room the other day. I do a inspirational room on Monday where we talk storytelling, but has an inspirational note, and it's got 100 people in the club. Not that's not the hugest club or anything like that, but all of a sudden, I was in there by myself that day, and it's funny. I had something the other day on TikTok hit 200. It hit, and it's been there for a while. It hit 240,000 views. In the same week, I'm sitting in a room with a zero. You know what I mean? And thinking, well, this hit, this doesn't hit. And I didn't either one. I made a video, and you might have realized that I shared that story of sitting there with zero people in the room. Me and Tom sit here today. I was talking with my microphone off. Tom, Tom couldn't find his hat, and there was nobody in the room. Man, it's life, and we didn't quit. We just keep showing up, keep showing up. Okay, but we need a pause real quick. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The pause is our man Charlie Cifarelli is in the room. Charlie Cifarelli, a dear friend of ours. Charlie had started sharing his story, beautiful story about him and Star, his family, his journey, and had I don't know if he minds me saying he had some battles with illness over the holiday season, and it got pretty dark for him. Charlie, I'm just thrilled you're here. If you want to come up and say, if you just want to say hi, if you want to say you're kicking life's ass, if you want to say you're on the mend, but it warms my soul to see you here. So Charlie, I'm changing the order, and Charlie, you can say whatever the heck you want. So go on, my friend.
Hey, hello everybody. Charlie, haven't been vocal for quite a while now, and you're fine with everything you said, Dominic. I had a stroke on November 16th at 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke up to this monster, and unfortunately for me, I was home alone. Jem was in Texas on a medical conference, and I didn't know what had happened to me because I suffer from pretty bad hip impingement. I thought it was a nerve because I got out of bed and I collapsed. So, not to give a sob story, but it took 17 hours before I got medical attention. And, you know, I'm not used to that. I've enjoyed good health my whole life, and it's a different place to be when they're asking you over and over, do you have a living will? Do you have a living will? It's a different place to be at. And it's a different place to have half your body paralyzed. And it's a different place when you can't go to the bathroom anymore. But by the grace of God, I got all the feeling back in my arm and leg. And I got mad one day and I threw my walker and I started doing some walking. So I'm not back to where I was, but my message to people today is this: please, please go easy with each other. We don't know what each of us are going through, and we don't know how much time we ourselves have. So, for anybody saying that they have a cornerstone on health, I'm here to tell you I have A1C in the fours. I'm not diabetic. I don't have high blood pressure. I'm not a risk factor. Nobody in my family has had a stroke, but a simple blood clot went deep into the brain stem of my brain and stopped blood flow. And that's a problem. And that could happen to anybody. It could happen to somebody that's just been battling COVID. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the body. So be easy with each other. If you're enjoying good health and you feel good, be kind to your neighbor. And everything happens for a reason. What is my message today? My message today is that I am so grateful to be alive. I am so grateful for the little things in life. And I can cry right now because the medical staff treated me like family. And I'm a big guy to pick up and get out of bed to go to the bathroom. And they did that because I didn't want a diaper and I didn't want a catheter. And they continually got me out of bed and they got me to stand up. And it was a big deal. And they did that for me. And I know it's their job, but they did their job with an incredible grace and great attitude. So I'm glad to be back here today, people. And as far as I talked about Tom, Tom, somebody repurposed one of my videos on a software underbelly, and I thought we all heard enough of it, so people are enjoying it again now. So things are good. A lot of book sales off of that, and I'm grateful to be here. That's enough out of me.
Hey, Charlie, can we give Charlie a clap, man? Just welcome back. And he's been one of our, yeah, he's been a supporter, a friend, just a guy trying to make a difference and do some good. So, yeah, thank you, man. I don't need to say anything. Thank you, Charlie. Glad you're here, man. Keep on that mend forward. So appreciate it. Okay, let's we're gonna keep on flowing here. Charlie, look at all this love, man. Look at the love for Charlie Cifarelli. So he deserves it, man. So he's just a guy that really wants to make a difference and help other people. Never ask him for you in the year or so I've known him. Never asked for anything. Just going out there and making a difference. So not the smartest guys in the room. Let's get back. I was talking about. They're clapping. We were talking about no views. We were talking about being on mute. We were talking about those days when you're like, shit, these 5 people owe me money and my bills are due. Maybe I used to be in pharmaceuticals. Maybe I should go back to pharmaceuticals. Maybe we're talking about those times when it gets tough where you're like, okay, stay the course. Is my message getting out there? So Heather, we're back. We're Heather. We're going to go to Heather, Julie, Jess, and then Elise. And then keep on rolling across here. And you can talk about whatever you want. Views and reels and collaborations. Tom Brady quitting Amazon influencer program, sitting on projects, not putting them out. Those were a few of the things on the list today. Okay, Heather, go where you want to go.
Well, I just wanted to say good morning and self-love and healing to you, Charlie. So we're so glad that you're here. And I just wanted to say that. But, you know, I really don't even know where to go at this point, because you would say when 5 people owe you a bunch of money. And it's like, that's where I'm at right now, because like there's this like really long time client that I have, and I've known this individual since high school. And, it's really difficult to work with somebody who kind of doesn't value your work in a way and won't pay you your fair amount. And it's just, I have a meeting with them tomorrow about it. And I'm going to go look right now. I have been with this person. I'm looking at my invoices because I have literally all of the invoices since 2014. I have been with this client since 2014. And I've not raised rates on them at all. And when I try, they don't let me. And so basically, with rising interest rates, rising costs, inflation, giving my workers raises, I'm literally working for this person for free. And it's difficult to stand up for myself and say, hey, I need to be paid so I can pay my people, so that I'm not losing money working with you, because so I'm just having a really difficult time on like, because I've known this person forever. I don't know if I should let them go because I've known them forever. 1, 2, they run in multiple circles that I run in regards to business. So, loose lips sort of issue. So I'm not really sure where I should go and what to do, if I should let them go, or if I just say like bite the bullet and be like, fine, I'll just keep her at a low rate. And like, it's really difficult to stand up for yourself. And especially when you know this individual for so long and you run in the same circles and they consider you a friend, but then they don't treat you as such. And so it's just really difficult. So I have a meeting with them tomorrow, and I have like almost 10 years of invoices proving that I've not raised rates on her, and it's time. And it's not my fault that the business is struggling, quote unquote, all the time. If that's the
Heather,
case, then you should, put money elsewhere. I don't know. So I'm looking
can I,
for advice, to be freaking
Heather,
honest. Okay,
can
go
I
ahead.
ask you a question, Heather?
Yes, Tom, I'll wait.
All right, awesome. So what does this person do? What do they sell? What are their services? Like, they're like, what are they in business to do?
That's a loaded question, because this individual wears many hats. They are in the hospitality industry. They're also in the pageant industry. They're
Okay.
also in the podcast industry. So, there's multiple things that I'm involved with.
Okay. So
Yeah.
hospitality, let's just focus on one. Hospitality in what way? In what way are they in the hospitality industry?
Food and bev.
Food
So
and
they
bev.
have
Like,
2 brick
so
and mortars.
they have what? Sorry?
They have 2 locations, like 2 different concepts, 2 locations, but literally right
Okay.
next door to one another. So
Okay. So like restaurant, eatery kind of thing, bar.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So they operate 2 businesses on slim margins, right? And Dom can specifically talk with some authority to how slim the margins are in the restaurant industry. I've never run a restaurant. Dom has. I have friends who have, but I know that industry operates on very thin margins, right? So, like, I mean, I would turn it back on them. I would say, look, like I have done my best over the last 10 years to not raise rates. And I would admonish you for not raising rates on them for 10 years. I think you should have. And I think you've kind of made it a little bit harder on yourself by not slowly
But
bringing their
that's
rate
the
up
thing.
over
Every
time.
time I tried, but I've tried. That's the thing. And the individual's like, we can't afford it. We're struggling. We might have to close our doors. But it's literally like every year that's the same thing. I'm like, well, why have you
Yeah.
closed your doors yet?
I would be willing to bet money that you are not the only vendor they do this to. This sounds like a pattern of behavior. And my response to that, and it might sting in the short term, but it's going to benefit you in the long term. My response to that is, here's the rate. And when they turn around and say they can't afford it, then you say, well, then I'm really sorry, but I don't think we can work together anymore. Period. Like, that's it. Because you're running a business, and you just say to them, look, I'm running a business too. And I understand that there are struggles, but I cannot afford to do this work for you at this rate any longer. Right? I've done my best to be as patient with you as I possibly can be. But at the end of the day, like, Heather, this sounds like a client you got to fire. And like, you got to fire him 5 years ago. So like, that's my advice, is cut him loose.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay,
But
hold on. I
I want to
want
hear
in.
you.
I want in on this too. So if the rate's the rate and they don't want to go up on the rate, why can't you reduce the work? And so I'm just
I've done that, and I've reduced the work to the point in which it's like they're complaining on the level of service now, and I'm like, well, I've told you this, you know what I mean? I'm like, because you cannot afford my rate, I need to reduce the amount in which we are posting. There cannot be multiple edits anymore. We even give the courtesy of giving content prior to scheduling, and then we make one round of edits. But like now, and we even should give captions. She has to approve it. But then, if something goes wrong and there's a caption she doesn't like that's scheduled, she'll turn around and be like, well, why was that posted? I didn't approve that. And we're like, we give everything to you. So it's to the point where it's costing me money for sure. 100% it's costing me money.
Tom's given the throat slash motion in a positive way, and you are not a bank. I'm not a bank. You can never work at a loss. You are there, Heather. You are trying to feed yourself and your family, so you are not in. It is not a 501c. So I just think you got to cut that. You can't do it. Go,
Heather, fire them, and know that you should not in any way, shape, or form feel guilty about it. You are protecting your business.
Yeah, but what do I do about the possible backlash that comes with it? Because like I said, they're in my community very strongly.
Let's go. Dr. Tachi wants to answer this. Go on, Dr. Tachi. Dr. Tachi, then Julie. Go on.
Already, I don't like this person, Heather. I'm sorry. I just had to say that because, I've dealt with similar things. Yeah, I don't like this person already. This person is not your friend, whether or not they consider. If they treat all their friends like that, then I feel sorry for the other people in the community. And here's the thing. One community does not hinge on one person. I think you're giving her way too much power. And again, I don't know the situation, but I think people treat you how you allow them to treat you. And she is treating you this way because you're allowing it. And I doubt that the level of power that you're ascribing to her within your community really has as much power. And if it does, then maybe that's not a community that you need to be in. You need to be where it's going to affirm you in terms of business and personally, because I can tell that this is also affecting you personally. So this person doesn't have your best interest in mind. She is thinking about her and her only, because if she was thinking about you, she would realize that you two are in business and you need to profit and survive as well. So because of that, you have to think about you because she's not thinking about you. And I doubt that there will be backlash that will have a serious effect. And even if it does, then those are not the type of people you need to be around anyway. I know it's very simplistic, but file the divorce papers. I will help you.
Thank you, Dr. Tachi. I love that. I mean, maybe I am giving this individual too much power, but yeah, it's a difficult situation since the longevity of which we've been working together, the history that we have of literally going to high school together, and the community in which we're in, which is local. It's Delaware. I mean, shit. Like, I could throw a rock and like hit 5 people that I know without even trying. So, the community is small, and so I just worry about loose lips, sink ships. You know what I mean?
And really quickly, I'm sorry, Tom, just to add to that. So I have a similar situation where like we're firing a client, and even though I'm in a big area, it is an organization, like the community that with it, which it's in, is small and people know each other. The difference is I don't give a damn. If people know each other, they can say whatever they like because our work stands for itself. And I haven't been working with this client for 10 years like you have, and these people are not my friends. So it's probably easier for me to say that. But for you, take it from the business perspective, definitely. But if you consider this person your friend, then maybe you need to say something that I'm very disappointed that you consider me a friend and you've disregarded my well-being this way. Maybe she hasn't even considered that because this is probably the way, as Tom said, she treats other clients and probably everyone in her life. Nobody says anything. She probably doesn't even know. So maybe you need to say something if that friendship part is important. I release the mic.
Julie, did you want to say something?
Hi guys, I'm really chomping at the bit of this. So I love everything Dr. Tachi just said, and I experienced situations like this, and I would say the past year where I had to make Sophie's choice. And for all you guys that are like really young, you probably don't know what it is, but it's like choosing one child, who's going to live, this child or the other. And what I want to say to Heather is, how important is it to keep your business alive? Are you thinking in terms of a CEO, a businesswoman, or are you like letting your emotions come in? Because this is how businesses fail, when we are leading with our emotions. When we are making decisions based on, I don't want to make them feel bad. And this is a lot of women too. And trust me, I had like a huge wake up call last year in terms of this. And I'm like, okay, do I want my business to thrive, or do I want it to just be surviving? She does not care. She is leading with her greed and ego. And for you to recognize that, you don't have to part ways in a cataclysmic way. This is your policy. This is what you do. And if she wants to be be a client still, she's going to pay you. Otherwise, it's going to bleed over, and it's taking up so much time and space in your head as well. Heather, like, what could you be doing with all this time in terms of, instead of worrying about this quote unquote friend and early on client, you could be doing so many more things. And unfortunately, this is the way of business. So I just want to just remind you that you are a CEO, a badass boss. And, sometimes we have to remind ourselves that it's not personal, it's business. So thank you. That's all. Sorry.
Good
To
stuff,
interrupt.
Joel. Good stuff. And hey, you might, Heather, because you're such a good friend to them and because you're so busy, you might refer them to somebody else that you think could work with them at this point, but you might not be the right person for them. So here's a name, call them. And they
Yeah,
probably,
I actually have like two people in mind for that. And Julie, yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to put my emotion into it, but the emotion isn't like sad or mad. It's more like nervous and scared that loose links like this, they're
No,
so
that's
interconnected. I'm just
you
like
are
worried.
worth it. You're like worth a certain dollar amount, and
Yeah.
she's worth by dictating this to you. Yes, you've been there for her. It doesn't mean you're not going to be her friend. You'll support her. But like in terms of business, you can't be wasting your time on this little stuff, especially when you're losing money with her as a client at the time.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is I have never received a referral from her ever in the last 9 years. I have clients that refer me out literally the month that we start, and that it's crazy. I've had so like even yeah. So I guess I need to weigh the pros and cons here and get my ducks in a row. And
It's hard too. I get it. It's hard, 1,000%.
I I know it's I'm gonna go to you next, Prof T. I see you chomping at the bit also, and I'm sure you've got some great insight here. I just wanted to add in one more thing before I forget. I know it's super easy for me to sit here and say fire the client, right? And I know it's a very difficult thing to do, but I think you absolutely have to do it in this case. And the other thing too, when you talk about this nervousness because you're concerned that she's going to go around and badmouth you, and damage your business and damage your reputation in the community that you're in, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm right that this is a pattern of behavior, that this is how she treats vendors to try to drive down her costs, right, with vendors and to keep costs low and to try to get the bargain basement rate she can out of everyone. If I'm right that this is a pattern of behavior, then I would not be surprised if you let her go and all of a sudden people start coming out of the woodwork going, oh my God, I had the worst experience working with this person. Oh my God, I had to stop working with them for the same reasons. Oh, they were always trying to to cut costs with me and to bargain, haggle my rates down and stuff like that. I had a situation where I got referred to a friend. This was not somebody I worked with for a long time. I got referred through a friend, somebody who I have continued to work with, to do work for a friend of theirs. I delivered the work in the agreed upon time frame, and they turned around after the fact and told me that they didn't believe the work was worth what I charged for it. And they had already agreed to pay the rate, and they tried to undercut me and tried to pay me less than they had agreed to pay because they argued that the work ultimately wasn't worth what I had quoted them. And I turned around and I said, look, if you don't want to pay the rate, that's great. The next correspondence you're going to get is going to be from my attorney. So let me know how you want to handle this. I'm happy to take it to court, but like either way, you're paying what you agreed to pay. And I've never worked with them since, and it didn't damage my reputation at all. Turned out that they had a really bad reputation of doing the same garbage to other people, and I found out after the fact. But I was nervous. Like in that exchange, I was really nervous about the repercussions. So I get it to some extent, as much as I can, but I think you got to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if you see people coming out of the woodwork to tell you that they've had similar experiences with this person. So I wish you the best of luck, and definitely, stay in touch with us. Let us know how things turn out, and feel free to reach out outside of this if I can be of any more help.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
100%.
Stay the course. Don't give up. Keep your head up. My dad told me one time when I was broke. I was in the restaurant business. This is a good segue. So my answer to that was 5 cents on the dollar is what the restaurant makes at the end of the day. Then I'm sitting here thinking while you're talking, coming out of COVID, the eggs are up. There's a chicken flu, all kinds of crap like that. So I'm thinking, yeah, I could see why things are tighter than they've been. So they haven't increased in their world because their struggle may be different right now. So, but that's not your reality. But so I'm in the restaurant business. I used to be in the restaurant business. And at one point I'm going broke. I owe about, probably at this point, we'll say I owed about 400,000 in like debt that was due right then. And I know I'm about to close. I'm trying to avoid going to jail and all this stuff's going on. And my dad came in one day, and my dad's a landscaper. And I used to have I'd ask my dad to come in at lunch, like on a winter day, because he'd be out plowing and nobody'd be there at that time. Or I'd get the waitresses to sit up in the front window of the restaurant to look like there was people there. And my dad said, Dominick, he said, keep your head up, even if you got to put it on the curb. And so whatever it takes to keep that head up, even if you got to crawl outside and keep it on the curb to lift that chin, that's something that has stuck with me to this day. So stay the course, Heather. Not the smartest guys in the room. Aye. Okay. Somebody said this to me the other day, Tom, and it's something that, I believe in being self-deprecating, and I also believe I am not the smartest guy in the room. They said you shouldn't do that. They said, why would you? And I have told people that at times, like, oh, why would you belittle or something? Why would you do it? Is that something we do?
It's tongue in cheek.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I don't think I'm stupid, but I also know that there are people out there smarter than me, especially when it comes to fields of expertise. And that's really what we're talking about. But it's tongue in cheek, right? It's fun. It's funny. Forget it. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah,
I'll
that's what I
happily
thought.
say I'm not the smartest guy in the room.
Somebody
I called myself an
it.
idiot earlier. I am. I'm an idiot.
They said you shouldn't do that. But yeah, I heard that. And okay, not the smartest guys in the room. We started the room today. I was on mute. Tom wasn't here. I was in a club. Joyce said she tried to find this room and had trouble finding it. I thought the other day I mentioned that I had a clubhouse It was me and me only. It reminded me of a time where I was selling books at the county fair, and they gave me the stage at lunchtime on like a hot Saturday or Sunday, and nobody was there except for the people eating, and I would just like randomly talk about life with the people, the 5 people in the back of the audience. Hey, but maybe I made an impact to that one person. But okay, that's where we're going. Anyway, Julie, where do you want to go? Then we're going to get to Prof T, Dr. Tachi, and keep this conversation going. Views.
Well, I
Julie.
got sidetracked with Charlie and Heather, so I don't even remember what we're talking about.
Okay, here's your subjects. So we started off with this idea of like, are we defined by the views? Are we scared of the views? Are we paralysis by analysis? Because, well, I only got 10 views. I wonder how many people in here. I wonder how many people in this room have deleted stuff because it didn't have a lot of views. Who's guilty of that? I wonder. But go on, Julie. So, I mean, you have clients, you're helping clients with messaging. So early on, when you start crafting your message and sharing your story, you might have one connection. It might be your first podcast, your first post on social media. How do we stay the course, Julie?
Well, and I know Tom and I like agreed on this before. It doesn't really matter. Social media, it's, he always hanging the sign outside the brick and mortar, if you will. You have to have it so people know you're there, but it has nothing to do. And I have clients who have like 100,000, 200,000, 1,000 followers, if you will. And, they post a picture of like them with their dog. They get tons of engagements and following, and then they do something like business-like and they get nothing. So it's about like showing a little glimpse of yourself, showing a little bit of vulnerability, not too much. And it's also not putting too much energy into social media. Engagement is everything. Followers, likes, or nothing. I mean, do we all have that big of an ego that we think we need to have 500 likes, 5,000 likes? Does that make, where does that, how does that move the boat? How does that push us forward? How does that propel us forward? I can't, in my mind, reconcile a good answer on that other than you have to have a presence online, and that's it. So I am complete. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Julie. If social media goes away tomorrow, would you be all right? Would you still be there? Yeah, I'd show up 50 different places tomorrow, still be podcasting or still be down in town handing out meals or whatever I'm doing. Would it impact me?
People
I,
have been
I would,
brainwashed, don't you
yeah.
think? Like, I feel like people have been, I feel like the demigod social media have brainwashed us to think that if we're less than, if we don't
It's
take
it's
too
it's
many
it's just
followers.
it's a way to grab some attention, I mean, it has its values, but okay, not the smartest guys in the room, but I just saw the Surgeon General said people under 13 shouldn't be on it. It has its good, it also has its evil, and if you have a complete understanding of it, like us talking, some days we get in here and we talk about algorithms. Well, the reason why, understanding. It's not that you did something bad when you posted something and your friend didn't like it. And I talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Like, I've never looked at who, I didn't even know you could do that looked at who liked your post. Your friend might not have saw it. It might not have showed up in their algorithm. And what, you think they have time to just scroll on you individually and look up your stuff? I read this book, it was Dale Carnegie. It was How to Stop Worrying. And this is like one of Dale Carnegie's lesser known books. And he said, this is 80 years ago. He said, people care more about their own headache than if you die, so they're not scrolling in this. He said it. So it's not me. Like, they're not scrolling on your personal account looking for every updates every half hour from you. They're just living their life. So, not the smartest guys in the room. Prof T, what's going on? Hey, Prof T, I saw you up on a big stage. It looked quite impressive. There was her grid system was behind her. Prof T is out doing events. So, Prof T, teach us a little. Tell us what you got going on. How can we be like you?
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. My mind is reeling all of the great conversation in this room. So yeah, I was actually invited to speak at a school of the trades. It's a very well known college here in the area, and it's for young men who are looking to be in the trades. It's a great school. You need to look it up, Williamson Trade School. Anyway, yeah, so I was there speaking about the grid system and achieving success through resilience. It was a really good opportunity. I'm doing a lot of speaking. It's what I do, and it's what I have been aspiring to do, and COVID put a kibosh on it for a little bit. And so, again, thanks to Julie, who really helped me to perfect my calling, so to speak. And so it's been really paying off. Social media wise, yeah, I'm going to say two things, but I want to back up real quick. Heather, I'd love to just hang out with you, talk with you. Listen, I'm in Glen Mills, where you are in Delaware. I'm 6 miles from the Delaware border. So many companies start LLCs in the state of Delaware because of it's such a lower fee. Taxes are extremely low. The cost of living is a lot lower. I get it, Heather. You got to be careful how you start, adding up your numbers, but you are of value, and I just want you to know that you're not going to be wrong. It's the way of the world right now. Anyway, I have a lot of respect for you, love what you do. When one door closes, a window at least will open. I promise you. And let's get together. And you're also,
Yes, and
yeah,
that's Glen Mills, PA, correct?
yep.
Okay,
So
I
with that,
have a client up there, so we should get lunch.
let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And I'm going to back channel you and invite you to something too. So, well, here's what I'm saying about social media, because I've been in a lot of rooms, you guys, and everyone's clamoring about, I got this many and I got that many, I got these many followers and that many followers. And, if you want to make money, you got to have all these followers and you got to blah, blah, blah. And, sometimes followers don't equal paid customers, paid clients, paid speaking gigs. And I believe that just keep doing what you're doing. And I'm going to answer the question you asked. Yeah, I've deleted stuff. I've gone back and like, oh my goodness, look at my hair, look at my face. The quality's terrible. And I've deleted it. And since being in this room for as long as I've been with you guys, I've learned one thing: don't do that. I learned that from you guys, Dom and Tom. Don't do that. I keep them up there. Somebody might see. I've got people clicking on something from 3, 4, 5 months ago. Oh wow! But here's what I'll land with, you guys. I'm already doing what I'm doing, and I'm very successful. I've already been successful with coaching and counseling in my private practice and speaking. I don't need millions of followers to validate me. However, with COVID, it opened up a whole new world. So I was able to get my book published. I'm now speaking internationally. And there are values that you can place on how it helps you. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but don't let it define you. Keep doing what you're doing. And you know what? People like Julie, who helped me to get to the next level in rooms like this, where I learn and I connect with people. And Charlie, I love you. God bless you. Charlie and I live about 2 hours away. Charlie, you're about 15 minutes from where my sister lives. So I'm looking forward to seeing you when you are ready for some company or some socialization. With that said, this is Prof T from Philly, where it is chilly. We got snow. It's cold, but the birds are hot. And I love social media, but it doesn't define me. I define it. Thank you. God bless you.
Boom. Thank you, Prof T. I define it. That is good. That is good stuff. Like I love that idea of I'm gonna put out like, and I love this idea of putting out the content that you believe in, that you want to share. Like if me, I try to share inspiration, positivity, and smiles. I saw that monkey that got saved from the Dallas Zoo today. They found two monkeys got stolen, and they found the monkeys. Love it. This is Dominick Domasky's space. You are getting a post about these monkeys at some point. I think I already shared something, but to me, I can't wait. It's weird. It's quirky. It's inspiration. I'm telling you, you're going to get it. Now, some people might say, what the hell is this guy posting about this silly monkey for? What the hell is he talking about? Well, inspiration, positivity, and smiles. So the content that I share is always something that I hope accomplishes that accomplish the content of other people that I help develop and stuff like that. Does it do one of those things? And if it does, well, like those monkeys that they found in an apartment, in a closet of an apartment, they're inspiring. I'm going to share it. All right. Sorry for my sidebar. I'm continuing here. Okay. So we are an eclectic bunch. Make sure you connect with the person above, below, like Prof T and Heather just did. Have a lunch. Me and Charlie had lunch one day. Me and Stephanie Zoom all the time. We're dear friends. Me and Tom have a show now, and we met over COVID and have never met face to face, but we were in groups every Thursday night at the beginning of lockdown. We'd sit there for 2 hours with a bunch of guys from all over the globe, really, and just talk about whatever, So connect however you can. All right. Now, because we're eclectic, because I probably have ADD, which isn't a bad thing, we are talking about persistence. We're talking about views. I'm reading it now. Here's some things that were on the list. Watch this. Here's some things that were on my list. These are my notes. My handwriting, if you're looking at the live screen, my handwriting's not the best. So here's what's on it. Did you ever notice Rush Limbaugh used to always, if you ever listen, every time he read something, he'd always crinkle the papers like this. It was a thing. So anyway, we're talking views, reels, collaborating, Tom Brady quitting. Well, can you quit something? Can you walk away?
Finally.
This Amazon influencer program. I got to talk to you guys about it. Sitting on projects. Why do we wait? Persistence, pounding the stone. Are we people that are defined by views, be defined by what everybody else thinks? No. Okay, Dr. Tachi, that's my segue. Now let me prepare you. You, our dear friend Dr. Tachi, who's been by our side and always drops knowledge and makes us think. Where do you want to go, Dr. Tachi? It's all you.
Wow, there's lots of places to go. So I guess I will stay on the social media trajectory and say that when it comes to followers and all of those vanity metrics, I think what has made us think it matters is advertisers, right? Because advertisers are only interested, well, they're increasingly interested in engagement, but for the most part, they are interested in eyeballs that can see their product. And so, because that's what they're interested in, we then have absorbed that interest. Now, if you're doing social media for a client or another thing, certainly you're going to pay attention to some of those things. But you also need to stress to them that the number of followers doesn't necessarily matter. I do, when I do my lives, especially on Instagram, I look and my numbers on Instagram, and I only have like 3,000 something followers on Instagram, but they are the most engaged that I have ever seen. So there are people that have like 10,000 plus followers, and they don't have the amount of people in their live videos that I do. Why? Because I've taken the time to cultivate a community, and that's what I care about. So social media is about cultivating a community. It's about building, community building, nation building, if you will. It's not about the numbers, because you can have 1 million followers, and if two people ever only comment on your stuff, that's not good metrics. So I think we have to take the metrics with a grain of salt. Again, if you're running social media for someone, you are going to look at how to improve those metrics. And that doesn't necessarily mean upping the follower count. That means, improving the engagement, because the engagement is really what matters. And then at the end of the day, the social platforms are great. Use them because they are, and I'm saying this in quotes, free, because nothing is ever really free. Use them, but know that you probably need to find a way to get this community to something that you actually own. And we've said this over and over in here. So if that's an email list, if that's an app that you have, if that's a platform you're building out, that's what you need to do. Because when these social media platforms, if they have a problem, we see how people uh, run around helter skelter when Facebook is down or Instagram is down. And that's arguably because they probably have not moved their audience elsewhere. So those are two things to think about. Of course, it's about engagement, but it's about engagement, but it's also about using that engagement and saying, "Hey, I'm also here. Make sure you follow me. So if anything goes wrong here, we always have this community." And I am complete.
No, Dr. Tachi, I don't allow it. So I watch your videos, and one of the things I notice about Dr. Tachi's videos is I'll be watching, and I don't even know how she does it, but I'll be watching, and sometimes I'll comment, and she'll instantly, even with all these people scrolling, she'll make a comment like right in the live stream, talking to whoever. Like one day I'm like, "Oh, what do you think about this?" And she responds instantly. So besides for that, Dr. Tachi, you got any engagement tips for our eager minds?
Yes. So what you're talking about, I love people. And obviously, I like to, when people come to my house or my virtual house, I like to make sure that they are attended to. So when people come in, you need to be welcoming them in. Even if you did not see them individually, take time periodically to say, let me just take a break and welcome everyone who came in. If I didn't see you, I'm saying hello to you now. That type of thing can make them feel welcome. Make sure that you look down at the comments and acknowledge them. So even if that means you have a certain time in your stream when you acknowledge comments, acknowledge them. So you don't have to, like, I do them when I see them, if time allows. If I have a guest, then I let them know, you know what, we'll take some time in a minute to acknowledge all the comments and go back. Just let the audience know what you're doing so they know what to expect. You can either do it throughout like I do, or you can take specific time and acknowledge, but you need to welcome them to your house and you need to acknowledge their comments, because otherwise they could just watch TV if nobody's going to talk to them. That's the whole reason people like live streams, because it's in the moment engagement. And there you go.
Dr. Tachi, that's great. So, and it makes, I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, Dr. Tachi's pretty smart. Okay. Hey, Medieval, Stephanie, Simon, L, Monica, Damon, Cynthia, Abdulva, because of Dr. Tachi's teaching, me and Tom admit we're not the smartest guys in the room. So, um, just acknowledge, and we do appreciate everybody that's in the room. I hope you guys know that. And we always try to invite everybody up if you want to jump up. But you're right, Dr. Tachi, and you do a great job with it. Our boy Charlie's on the phone. Oh, we got somebody a little. I was going to say, I'm looking at my screen here, and it shows the phone, and I see somebody raise their hand. So, all right, Medieval. Let's see, Medieval. This looks like something. This picture he's got here looks like something my son used to have. He was always talking about these things, but now I'm reading. I got to read his profile. Move with intention, serve with purpose. Okay, I'm in. He's got a coffee there. It's comfort, comfort the confused, and the confused the comforter. No time for hate. Yeah, I agree. Medieval. Okay, Medieval. Where you weigh in on all this stuff? What do you got going on?
In what stuff? To be honest, I was just listening to it, thinking everybody was just bringing their fair share of information to the table, but I don't even know what to talk about, to be honest. I could talk about a lot of things. Within my life, I'm just at a place where I'm just, at the moment, I wouldn't say I own any business. I'm just a working guy, to be honest. From the UK, been here most of my life. Yeah, I'm just a working guy, but I'm plain and simple. I'm just a naturalist, to be honest. I enjoy simple things. I'm just like enjoy the simple things, find the things in life rather than all of this social media. And that is probably the only social media I have. I have had a few in the past, but I've deleted them because it just wasn't me. I tried to, I don't know. And within the sense of all this algorithm and that, everybody's just welcoming it like it's all normal. But it's not really like, it's not really, I don't know. It's not natural. It is natural in a sense, but it's not like, if it makes sense, because it's like there's algorithms. That means there's something in the air sending and taking information. It's like, I don't know. It's like, what are we going into? And I don't know. Scary when you really think about it, man. Taking us away from who we are and whatnot. It's like it's taking the roots of a human being away, kind of. I don't know. I could go on all day, but I don't know. What do you lot think?
Hey man, well we appreciate you're here. You give us a shot. You check out the room, and don't mind that we cover 50 topics. We got so many experts in the room. We're like, hey, let's ask them about this, or there's things that we get together and so many things happen over the course of a week where we're like, hey, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. And then as soon as we start talking about it, everybody raises such good points. We go down a whole nother rabbit hole, man. So hang out, appreciate, like I think Dr. Tachi said it, all those media platforms are just distribution, like they're just another distribution platform. You have your content. So like me, my business is publishing books. That's what I do. I help people tell their story. I love all these other platforms just because I think if my authors aren't there, well, are the 5 million people that are on Clubhouse or 10 million, are they going to find them? If, I mean, I'm hoping at the end of the day, they fall in love with one of the authors and then they say, I'm going to check out their book. I'm going to follow them. I'm going to attend their speeches and stuff like that. But these distribution platforms where people are, they're good places to meet, connect, network. So that is why I believe in them. And I feel like, hey, sometimes if you're not there and you have this beautiful message to share, well, are people maybe turning somebody, let's say somebody right now is looking for, like Stephanie wrote a book of mental health awareness, and that's who's next here. Mental health awareness in the workplace. Well, if Stephanie's not on a certain platform, well, are they finding that message of mental health awareness somewhere else when her book's a great book and her courses and everything like that's great. So Stephanie, weigh in on all this. That's a segue. Let's see. Sometimes I have Stephanie's book around here. Here it is. Let's see. For the live streamers, let's see. Perspectives Through Broken Glass, a guide to navigating depression at home and in the workplace. Yeah, look at that. Look at that plug. Stephanie, what do you got going on? Go on.
Hey guys. So I'm really glad that Medieval went right before me because I couldn't agree more. I think the social media platforms we have were initially started to be a place of natural connection, right? Of, networking with people that we already knew and just keeping up with them. And I think it changed. And um, to the point, Dominic, that you mentioned earlier about ADD, like I openly have ADHD, recently diagnosed. So I wrote notes as we were starting the conversation. But I wanted to call out from a views perspective. I don't care about views. In fact, what I've noticed is that if I have a video that gets like 0, 1, 10, 50 views when I'm normally getting more, if I repost it at a different time of day or repost it with different um, after I've posted other things like it, it will get more views. So I'm not concerned with views. In fact, I'm like, oh, I put content out there and that's great. And now I get to reuse my content, which means I have to do less work later, which is awesome. But I would like to move away from social media. So Dominic talked about my book. And thank you for the plug. And I was going to kind of go there because one of the chapters in my book is stop letting the algorithm control your life. So what Prof T and what Julie said are both right. Like the media giants have used psychology to dictate the algorithm. So you see the things that you interact with, but it doesn't necessarily mean that those are the things that you like or the things that you should have, right? So if you do have mental health issues, for instance, you may see a bunch of posts and love because you can relate to those. And it's about how depressing the world is, right? So it's just kind of one of those things where we have to understand that psychology manipulates the algorithms, which means that we're being manipulated. And to Prof T's point, we have to dictate our communities. We have to dictate our algorithms. We have to control the input. So remove people that post negativity, remove people that don't support your purpose, remove people that troll you, right? And then build a community like Prof T was talking about. I have found more clients through one-on-one interactions. Personally, I really love Clubhouse, or Clubhouse is great too, but Lunch Club And those are one-on-one direct interactions. You sign up for one time a week and you get a one-on-one person. And you don't necessarily have those huge views, but you get an interaction that's valuable, people who support your mission and your cause. And those are the people that I really want to work with. I'm working on building my own community as well. So and I just recently found an app that allows you to build a group type community similar to a Facebook group, not attached to any other social media. It's just a group app. And I'm working on moving people over there because I want to be able to provide that for people who don't even want to be on social media, like medieval, right? Like I want them to be able to access that stuff without having to potentially damage their mental health by going online. And I am complete. Thank you.
This is Heather. Can I just say something really quick?
Go for it.
Because, I mean, this has been my moral conundrum my whole entire life in regards to my social media profession. Because social media is so closely correlated to depression and mental health issues. It is a huge thing. I mean, I have 3 kids. Nobody's allowed on social media at all. I use social media as a tool, but there's many other people out there that, use it to connect with other people and to, kind of share their daily lives. And that could be detrimental to your health. And so, I wanted to say, I love this conversation and I'm so happy to hear that there's this push to, I know it's crazy and I shouldn't say this as a social media professional, but to get off of social media because it is detrimental to our health. It is closely correlated to those who have mental health issues and also those who take their own lives. Trigger warning. And so I'm even doing research about, and I think may push me to do it more is, I was going to do a TEDx talk about the correlation between depression, especially in younger kids, and the use of social media. And when social media started was the rise of depression, in younger kids, because I was the first generation to literally be on the internet, like AIM, AOL, all of that stuff. And I had unfettered freaking access. So, the safety of social media has definitely gotten better, but I feel as though the mental health portion of it has not, and it's just gotten worse. So I just really like where everybody's going with this in regards to kind of having stepping away from social media and kind of taking control of that narrative. So thanks, guys.
I want to
Can I
piggyback
jump
really
in
quick.
there?
Hey,
Go ahead, Prof T.
Yeah, okay, good. So we'll go Prof T, then Stephanie. And Tom, hold on here. Hold on. Let me get some order. We need order. Okay. We'll go Prof T, Tom, then Stephanie. How's that?
Sounds good, bud.
Thank you. So Heather, you're absolutely right. And Stephanie, I just back channeled you. I just followed you. Let's connect. I just did an article on LinkedIn the other day on this topic. And I've been studying this, teaching this, and researching this for several years. And you're absolutely right. The mental health is extremely correlated with cell phone use, especially in young people. And I was actually on the news for 10 minutes one time a couple of years ago on a couple of tips to help your child get through trauma. It was right when COVID had hit. And you know what? With the trauma of COVID, the whole world's been traumatized and we are on overload. But with the rise in all the apps, there is now, listen, you guys, there is now a diagnosable code of cell phone addiction. Who knew? So I did write this, and there are ways to go about it. But the funny thing is, you guys, here we sit on our phone, on an app, and all of us are on something every single day. So I don't know where the limit is. I can only tell you from my own personal perspective. I teach college students. Their attention span is extremely short. They have their phones, the whole class all day, and you're not allowed to take it from them. You're not allowed to admonish them. And so it starts at home. But as parents, we have to teach and we have to be the example. And yes, there have been significant anxiety disorders that are strictly correlated to cell phone use. And overusage of device, the blue light syndrome, all of those things. And there are many kids being, and I'm going to step into the deep water here, many kids being diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, and other things on the spectrum. And it stands to reason that it could simply be from lack of exercise, overstimulation of devices, and the inability to settle down. Thank you. That's all I'm going to say. Prof T, over to you, Tom.
Thanks, Prof T. So, couple of things here. So I want to, Prof T, I want to push back on one thing you just said real quick, because it's like it's a little bit of a pet peeve.
I figured.
All right, cool. So it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, but I have conversations with people all the time where they talk about how nobody's got attention spans anymore, right? And there's a little bit of an issue with that. Attention spans, our ability to pay attention to things, right? Which is what generally we're referring to when we talk about attention spans. Our ability to pay attention to things, what grabs our attention, things like that, are actually traits that are coded in evolution, right? There are evolutionary traits, things that attract our attention through vision, through hearing, things like that, are broadly speaking behaviors that are genetically coded, are instinctual, right? And are developed over evolution. And evolution doesn't happen in one generation or two generations, at least not in a measurable sense. The change is so incremental that it takes many generations of change over time before you can really see a difference. And so I push back on the attention span thing. And I'm not saying that they're not having difficulty paying attention or they're not paying rapt attention. My argument is that they don't have shorter attention spans. They're just more distracted, right? We just have a lot more stuff coming at us than we did historically, right? So we're more inundated with information and data, right? Than we were in the past. I would argue though that if you rewind the clock and you go back 50 years and you talk to somebody who taught college students, they would say something very similar to you, but they would talk about how the kids were staring out of the window, or they weren't paying attention because they were talking to each other, or they were passing notes or something like that. So I would say that it's not attention span. I would actually take that stand. I would say it's not attention span. It's the amount of stuff that we have coming at us. The other thing that I wanted to say, which is like broadly targeted at this conversation, is it makes me think of when we were talking to Heather before about this undesirable client of hers, and Dr. Tachi said that said to Heather that she thought Heather was giving her too much power, giving this client too much power. And I think we're kind of doing the same thing with social media here. Nobody has to be on social media. Is it a good idea to have a presence on social media? Absolutely, right? From a business perspective, is it a good idea to have a presence? Definitely. But do you have to? No. There are plenty of people that operate in this world with no presence on social media and run businesses and are successful and happy, etc. So it's not a requirement. The fact that we feel like it's a requirement is more of a commentary on us and the way we're internalizing external social pressures, I think, than it is on what social media is. I don't think there's anything inherently evil about social media. I think the sort of the place where you get into a bad space is where social media organizations have intentionally ignored correlations, like you were talking about, Dr. Prof T. They've intentionally ignored known correlations between rates of teen depression and rates of teen suicide and use of their apps, right? So that's where I think that sort of that practiced ignorance that they've exercised, I think that's the sort of evil thing. The app in and of itself is just an app. There is nothing sort of good or evil to it. It's just computer programming, right? And at the end of the day, all the algorithms are designed to do the exact same thing. And I say this over and over again. I said it in a conversation I had yesterday with somebody, and I'll say it again. I know I've said it in this room before, but every single algorithm on every single social media app they're all designed to do the exact same thing. They do it different ways, but they're all designed to do the same thing. And that thing is to keep you on the app for as long as possible, because on social media apps, our attention, our time is the commodity, right? That's what they are selling to advertisers. Or our behavioral data is what they're selling to advertisers. And so our time on the app, right, is how they make money. And so every algorithm is designed to keep us on the app and interacting with the app for as long as possible. And that's it. It's that simple. Like, that's what they're all designed to do. They're all designed to do it different ways, but that's what they're all designed to do. And so just bear that in mind as you use these different platforms, that your time and your attention is the commodity. And at the end of the day, you control your behavior, right? You control your behavior. You can't control what the app does. You can't control what the people who run the apps do, right? You can't control any of those things, but you control your behavior, right? So you make the choice that's best for you, and don't worry about what anybody else is doing, or you have to be on social media, or you have to do this, you have to do that. You don't have to do anything, right? Be careful in the choices and be deliberate in the choices you make, because what you do is what you choose to do, not what someone else is making you do, right? So I just wanted to hit that. I know that was a lot. I just kind of I feel like I unloaded with both barrels. But I want to go back down to Stephanie and see if that maybe helped with your thinking, or these other perspectives helped with your thinking on that initial question.
Yeah, I think that you summed up everything really nicely. You're absolutely right, and that's the thing, right? So it's about whether or not you are taking control of these pieces, right? And whether or not you're creating it. So I couldn't agree more. What I wanted to say earlier, Heather, is I just wanted to circle back to, you made a comment about, I have this moral dilemma. I want to be on there to help people, but I understand that there are side effects and risks and things like that. And I just want to say to you that, don't feel guilty, right? Because you have a mission. Your mission is to help people. And we're all there to do something. And there's somebody out there that doesn't understand this stuff, right? So we're talking about the algorithm. We're talking about taking control. It's because the majority of us who are here understand that that's how those systems work. Most people who are using those apps don't understand that. And so we have the power to shift the perspective for people, to help them to understand that and take back control over this situation, right? We've been talking about this for many, many years, right? Boycotts and people have power in manipulating organizations to do what we need them to do as a community. And so the more that we talk about this, the more we have open conversations, hopefully the more that it will change, and those algorithms will stop being manipulated in that way, right? And again, like you said, Tom, it's about us taking control and understanding what we need. But until everybody gets on the same page with that, it's going to be it's going to be us out there making the difference and helping people to understand and shifting that perspective. So I'm done.
Hey, thank you. This is good stuff. I want not the smartest guys in the room. I pinged Johnny real quick before, because I don't know how much time he has, but Johnny, I was in a room last night and you got up you were on the stage and you spoke. And
Hey.
okay, what do I got here? Go on. Hold on. All right, hold on. Let me clear my head. See, that's how sidetracked I get. So I'm in this room last night. Johnny's talking, and the subject of what is it? It's when you're Johnny, you're
imposter syndrome.
That's it, Johnny. You nailed imposter syndrome. And look at me, I lost the word. He nailed imposter syndrome, and I'm sure we all feel it at some point. Like, oh, this person's here, this person's there. I got this message. They sold this many books. This, blah 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 blah. And so, Johnny, I thought you nailed it. And as soon as I heard it, it was in my mind. And would you mind sharing that with us? And then we'll just keep rolling out.
Well, yeah. So good morning, everybody. My name is John Pica. You can call me Johnny. And I'm a multidiscipline entertainer and storyteller. For the last 40 years, I've been working professionally as an entertainer and storyteller, and author, podcaster. But Yeah, so we were talking about imposter syndrome, and for those of you who don't know, imposter syndrome is this phenomenon where you get into your own head and you basically you question your worthiness to be where you are, whatever level you're at or whatever room you're in, stage you're speaking on. What you question your success, and there's always this voice in the back of your head that says, these people are going to discover I'm a fraud, I don't belong here, um, nothing, I'm not worth anything that I have. That's imposter syndrome. And the fact of the matter is, anyone who's in the creative arts, in the creative industries, suffers from imposter syndrome. And I'm going to say anyone who's in any field where there is a competitive nature feels imposter syndrome. And a dear friend of mine once told me that the only people who have imposter syndrome are the people who are actually doing something worth doing. They're the people who are doing the work, who are actually accomplishing something worthwhile, and those are the people who suffer from imposter syndrome. And that's always, resonated with me, because I swing throughout the day. I have these swings where I'm like, I'm the best in the world, I don't deserve to be here. I'm the best in the world, nothing is good. And that's me all day long. And the key for me has been to remember to celebrate your wins and your victories. Don't dwell on what you lack or don't have. And here was the example I gave yesterday. We are, my podcast, Back in the Cereal Box, 2 days ago, hit the top 200 on Apple Podcasts in our category. We number 126. Out of the hundreds of thousands of podcasts, we are now ranked at 126. And that was huge. And along with that, we've got some brand sponsorships that are coming to us and paying us to promote their product. They're coming to me now. I'm not going to them. They're coming to me. But I let it get all over me that a specific brand that we've been pursuing that is a perfect fit for our audience, for our demographic, for our topic, has completely ghosted me. And I didn't focus on the wins. I focused on this one sponsor that won't respond to emails or phone calls, and completely ignored all of the amazing stuff that is happening. And when you do that, that imposter syndrome takes over, and it can really affect you adversely. So my advice to everybody last night was celebrate your wins. Celebrate the smallest wins. If it's 20 new listeners today, celebrate that with a post on social media, with an email newsletter, e-blast, whatever it is. However you celebrate, make sure you acknowledge your victories, your wins, and celebrate them to avoid the crushing defeat of imposter syndrome. How's that, Dom? Ta-da!
Thanks, Johnny, man. I appreciate you. And just that imposter syndrome thing is something that I hear so often. I heard you talking about it yesterday. I think I'm guilty of it. I think probably a lot of people are guilty of it or victim of it, whatever you want to call it. But just Johnny turning it around and saying maybe it wasn't a bad thing. But Johnny, you did sound like you were on a rocket to the moon. So is there something else that you wanted to tell us? But you did sound good and bring it home. But message good, but you did sound like you were on a rocket to the moon. You up in space?
I'm in the car driving. Usually when I'm on Clubhouse, I am in the car. Because, kind of dovetailing into the previous discussion before you even prompted me, Um, when I'm in my office, or if I'm on stage, or if I'm involved in another project, the phone gets turned off and put away. So I'm not on Clubhouse or social media um, a whole lot throughout the workday. I do have some team members that post to social media on my behalf, and I do have some scheduled time blocks throughout the day to do some social media marketing and promotion. But otherwise, I'm not engaged during those time blocks. And I turn the phone off and I put it away so that I'm not distracted, so that I can focus on what I need to do, either working with clients or working on a new creative project or whatever it is. So long story short, the only time I'm on Clubhouse is when I'm driving.
Right on, brother. And we appreciate you for it. Keep on driving. Go on, Tom.
I was just gonna say, so like, here's what pops into my head when I hear imposter syndrome, and maybe I'm dating myself a little bit, but if you remember, it was part of the Wayne's World skit from Saturday Night Live, but they did it in the movies too, where Wayne and Garth would do the "I'm not worthy" thing and like get down on their knees and bow down, right? I don't know if anybody else in the room like, throw a clap up or something if you remember that, if you can like hear it in the back of your head, hear them going, we're not worthy, right? So like that's what I think of. That's like how I analogize imposter syndrome. Is I think like in the back of my mind, like that's the voice that I hear, right? When like somebody hits me with praise or like congratulates me on something, you hear that voice in the back of your mind going, we're not worthy, we're not worthy, we're not worthy. And, I think to Johnny's point, if someone decides to give us praise, if someone decides to laud our accomplishments, if someone else decides to congratulate us on something, then we are worthy because they decided we were worthy, right? It's not up to us to decide whether or not we're worthy to accept their praise. Like they're the ones giving it, right? So accept it graciously is like the sort of the lesson that I was taught, um, more as an adult than as a kid. Humbly and graciously accept the praise. But then the other thing too, when Johnny talks about like, celebrating your wins, a great framework to do that if you struggle, with this "we're not worthy" voice in the back of your mind. A great way to celebrate your wins is to do it through the frame of gratitude. So rather than posting on social media and feeling like when you look at those posts that it comes across like bragging or that you're patting yourself on the back, talk about how grateful you are for all the people that listen to your podcast, or all the people that have joined your community, or all the people that have subscribed to your business, or whatever the case may be, right? Talk about how grateful you are for the opportunities, how much you value the people that are part of your community. Talk about it through that frame rather than talking about the accomplishment in and of itself, right? And it's a great way to sort of avoid imposter syndrome getting in the way of you celebrating accomplishments in your life. So do it through the frame of gratitude, and that way you don't have to feel like you're patting yourself on the back, or in the back, like, or what I hear in my mind is my mom's voice when I was a kid saying, nobody likes a braggart. Like, we don't brag, nobody likes a braggart, right? So like, in order to not hear that voice, to not hear that repeating in the back of my head, I try to share wins through the frame of gratitude, and that seems to work for me. So I hope it helps somebody else.
Thank you, Tom. We're going to go to Julie Rock. I love gratitude, man. When people, like Tom's saying, there's just something about people that let you know how thankful they are. I'll tell you, I'm a Kenny Chesney fan. I got into country music about 15 years ago in my restaurant. I couldn't get any channels because there was the exhaust systems and everything like that. And I got into country music and I've loved it ever since. And went to Kenny Chesney concert, and this guy thanks before every song. The reason I wrote this song is I had a dear friend. Thank you very much at this concert. Thank you, hardworking people, for giving your time today and being here. And he does it so often in every song, over and over and over. I'm raising my hands like, yeah, thank you. Love this guy. I can't get enough of him just talking and thanking everybody for where he is at that moment. It's so endearing. So get out there and show that gratitude, like Tom says, and be sincere. And I think he's being sincere. Okay, Julie, Rock, what do you got going on today? How you been? Always good to see you. You always inspire us as well. There's a lot of topics. I can't even handle them all. So you have to step up and root through them and take us where you want to go.
I don't even know where we're going. All I'm thinking about is I'm grateful for the journey. I was just thinking about that. I had a conversation, a networking call just a few minutes ago with somebody that I used to work with. And she's like, Julie, I'm so proud of you. You've done so much and you're doing it. You're really doing it. And I started my business over a year ago, and I'm like thinking to myself, no, I really have. What have I done? I'm thinking to myself, oh, thank you so much. But in my head, I'm thinking, well, what have I really accomplished? But after listening to what everybody's saying, it's like, well, I just have to be thankful for the journey. And then yesterday I talked to my one friend, and she's like, Julie, it takes 5 years to build a successful coaching business. And I'm like, okay, 5 years. I'm on the journey. And I guess my thought right now is that I'm grateful for the journey. And, that's success in and of itself, because not everybody's going on that journey. Not everybody has the courage to go on the journey. And it's hard. It's a grind. I'm working a lot. I'm doing it. I'm making it happen. But at the same time, it feels slow. So thanks for letting me share that and vent a little bit. But I appreciate everyone here, and I appreciate the space. Thank you.
Jolie, thank you. You remind me of a post that I saw yesterday. It was Gary V. I'm a big Gary V fan. I like the honesty, like the vibe and stuff. And he was talking about when he started off, and he's doing his wine library. And I don't know if he worked for his dad's wine company and basically took that business online. And he's doing videos. He's doing YouTube early, and he said, early on, he got so much heat from his friends, hate, he'd go somewhere and he could hear people whispering. And it was even like the people that he knew whispering. And then at the same time, he said he got some praise. And he says, now looking back, hate, praise, it was exactly the same thing. Because he was just on the journey, like Julie. He was just on the journey. The hate was part of it. The praise was part of it. But he knew where he was going. So just how I wanted to wrap that up and is just stay the course, man. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. There's going to be shitty days where you want to quit, days where you think you should have quit, and then days all of a sudden where you get 2 new clients or 3 people pay you at the same time, and you're like, holy cow, I'm rich, or this is working exactly how I thought it was supposed to work. Or all of a sudden you're at the mall and somebody comes up to you and they said, I watched Back of the Cereal Box today, or I read 14th and 2nd, or I love Mediacasters, or Cannabis Mom, or Heather's, the restaurant says, wow, these posts were amazing. I want to go eat those burgers because of it. So all that happens. Stay the course. Tom, now I got nothing left. This is how I work. I go hard and then I burn out. I give it my best, and this is all I got. So Tom, you want to put a bow on all these subjects that we have talked about today, because you're better at that than me, and I lean on you as always for that.
Well, I don't know if I can put a bow on everything we've talked about today, because we have we've gone on a bit of a journey. We've been kind of all over the map a little bit, which is good. I don't know how many times I've said this now, but it's one of my favorite things about this room and about this thing that we do every Wednesday morning, whatever we want to call it, this show, this room, whatever. Because this is eventually, I swear, eventually this is going to become a podcast. I promise. But this thing that not the smartest guys in the room is. But yeah, one of my favorite things about it is that it is unpredictable in the best possible way. and that we allow the conversation to evolve. We allow the conversation to go where it needs to go rather than sort of being too heavy handed and dictating what we can talk about and what we can't talk about and how we can talk about it and all of those things that kind of tend to drive me nuts about Clubhouse and spaces like this, where you get folks up on stage who are really there for themselves and really opening the room for them and not so much for the audience and not so much for the people participating. And so they are very heavy handed with how they steer the conversation. And we try not to be. So, all that to say, a very long winded way of saying there's no way I could possibly sum up everything we've talked about. But I will just tack on one thing to what you said about staying the course, Dom. And this is a realization I kind of had to come to myself. I spent the first 17 years ish of my career in the entertainment industry, working for other people. I was freelance most of that time, but still was working for other people. And I really only became an entrepreneur about 4 years ago. And in the course of becoming an entrepreneur in the last 4 years, I've realized that no one has everything all figured out. No one starts their business knowing all the answers. No one takes the next step in their business knowing exactly what the outcomes are going to be and how things are going to shake out in 5 or 10 years. In fact, most people, if you ask them what their 5-year plan is and then check in with them 5 years later, it's going to look dramatically different from what they described to you, right? So all of that to say, I've spent 4 years. I've finally come up with a mission for my business, right? Like it's taken me that long to really kind of like hone in on things. So business, entrepreneurship, life is a long game, right? There is no hack. There is no shortcut. You just have to stay the course. You have to put in the work and you have to be patient. You have to give things an opportunity to succeed or fail, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned, and one of the things I wanted to tack on to what you were saying, Dom, about staying the course is you have to give everything you do the opportunity to succeed or fail, and then make decisions based on which direction things go. But you can't force it, right? So you just have to be patient and and put in the time, put in the work, right? So that's it. That's all I got for today. Now I'm going to say that I'm all tapped out, and want to end this just by saying thank you to everybody for being here. We really appreciate all of you. We do our best to let you guys know that at the beginning of the show, at the end of the show, by bringing everybody up on stage, by giving everybody a forum in which to ask questions and share tips. And we hope to see you guys here again next Wednesday with not the smartest guys in the room, aka Dom and myself, Tom. We'll see you guys then. Thanks so much for being here. Love you guys.